Figuring out this lighting is kind of hard. Remember, guys, the goal is some way, somehow, somehow, a year from now, I'm going to be in Miami, my own apartment, living my best life. 25 and 25. The topic of this video is just like my whole like spiritual journey and spiritual awakening, and how, well, a little bit of like, well, like from when I started to like where I'm at now currently. Spiritual journey, healing journey, all of that. Because I kind of brushed over it like really messily in the first video that I posted, so I think I'm gonna like go like back, even before like just the very beginning of like the fact words. I'm gonna go back when I kind of just like first started to wake up, and not really so much at the point that I did wake up. So I think I started waking up like as soon as like I left home and went to college, and it wasn't really it was after the first year, because I have never really been ghosted before by anybody, or at least like people haven't talked to me and not like at least like come back later in the future. And I had a roommate who was more knowledgeable about, you know, life and things like that. And I was not, like, coming from my hometown where it was just like, at the time it was like 2015, or conversations about just really anything. I'm sorry, this is like bothering me. Like, where do I sit? And like this little thing on my chin, like that's not the highlight that I want. So anyway, where was I? So I had this roommate, and she was just more knowledgeable about things. But we were both like young, 18, going on 19, just kind of like trying to figure out like life and stuff. And she was just like ahead of me. Excuse me, pronouns. And they were just like ahead of me and things, like where they, you know, they knew things. They just knew more things than me. And I was like ignorant about a lot of stuff, and I made a lot of ignorant statements towards them. And looking back, like, I didn't realize it because, you know, I didn't know anything about that stuff. But anyway, the way that like that year had gone for us and stuff, they ghosted me. And that's never happened before. Like, I have literally never heard from them ever again. And I understand why now, but just like back then, it was just like, you're not talking to me? You're not talking to me? And like, it was really something that like well, it seemed that they carried with them like years later too. Anyway, that's the first like time that like I was like, is something wrong? And from years on, like through my college years, it was just like I would go through experiences, and I would have those moments just like, why does nothing work for me? Like, why am I in these relationships that go nowhere? Or why am I always getting hurt? Or why like do I just keep coming across like these really crappy people? And you know, it was just a lot going on. I was trying to figure out who I was as a person while going to school, which was really difficult. My sexuality, because I was kind of like coming out of like this like what is it, um compulse comped, but I think it's like compulsory heteronormativity. Anyway, just like, you know, I wasn't straight. Like, I knew I wasn't straight, but like I didn't know how to go about exploring that. And so that's just also where I was, where I was just still like majorly dating white men. The mayonnaise man. The mayonnaise man. And yeah, and I was figuring all that stuff. And also just like spiritually, like I knew that like I liked the idea of like having a faith and stuff. It's just that I just didn't know where I fell on that, because of like who I was as a person, sexuality, my homosexual tendencies, and just like who I was as a person. Like, I just didn't agree, but I didn't know where to go. So there's a lot of stuff that I had to figure out. But it really, like, things didn't start breaking until my, it's hard to say that now, like, my first ever relationship that lasted more than 2 months at least. I was at a point in my life where I thought I was doing very well. You know, I'm a thick girl, and I, you know, at the time, it's like everybody wants to be skinny, and so I had lost a whole bunch of weight. I had a job, and I was paying my bills. You know, I wasn't like struggling. Like, it wasn't like the greatest job in the world. I mean, it was a really good job, but I mean, like, it wasn't the greatest paying job in the world. But like, I was comfortable. I was taking care of myself. I didn't live on my own. I had roommates, but like I was paying my rent, paying my bills, all that stuff, no problem. And like life was great. You know, it was also during the time I was just like had a major, like, I felt like, you know, glow up and like little hoe phase, little getting around town. Yes. But anyway, I came across this girl. She was younger than me, and it was a very hard relationship. It was more like, it was very rushed, faster than I wanted it to be. It was like we were talking for 2 weeks, and then it was like, I want to be with you. And at the time, I just didn't know how to tell people, like, no. Like, no was just not a thing for me. But in my head, it was just like, oh, you know, I guess, you know, I've never done this before, so, you know, might as well, you know, without really thinking about it and thinking about and not really knowing the person that I was agreeing to get in a relationship with. But anyway, so me and her were together for like 9 months, and it was really, really hard. Um, because she was younger. Um, I think that's my alarm system in the house. It's kind of dying. I don't know. Anyway, but that might happen throughout the video. It was like, I don't know. It was like, I think it's just like the way that she grew up, and it seemed like she just really wanted to be mommied and like wanted a mommy. That's just how I perceived it. I felt like I was taking care of her. Like, you know, it seemed like she didn't have, like, it's not, I wouldn't say that she was like poor, but it wasn't like, you know, she was just starting out where had been like adulting for a little bit. And so I honestly just felt like I was taking care of her more than I was actually like being with her. It didn't feel like we were partners. It just felt like, you know, I'm taking care of you, and that was kind of our relationship, and that's just how I perceive it. She might say something different, but that's just how I perceived it. And I would say that on a more like tangible, like economic, like financial level. But I feel like she would say that she was taking care of me on an emotional level, because at the time I didn't really have like a lot of confidence, low self-esteem. I would say that that's just where I was. I didn't have any boundaries. I let people kind of do whatever because I was just so afraid of not being nice, because to me not being nice is not is will eventually equal to not being liked. So that's just where I was. And she would say things to me that would just start to like wake me up about myself. Really, she just really exposed a lot of things about me. But looking back, were just like the positive parts in hindsight of, like, you know, my life. I think one particular thing that I do remember that she had said is like, one time I think like I wanted to go get some food, and so said, I'm going here, and she's just like, oh, well, I'm hungry too. Can you go here as well? And in my head, like, I didn't have enough time to do whatever, like, to get food and go do what I had to do next. And so, like, it was just, I was mad at her for asking me that, because it was just like, I have to go do something, but I also didn't know how to say no. And so I just went and got her food and didn't get myself food. And I brought it back. She was like, where's yours? Like, oh, I just didn't have time to do both, and so I just got yours. I needed to get yours. I said that I needed to get yours so you could eat or whatever. And she was like, you could have just said like you didn't have time. And I said, and I was already like irritated because I was hungry, and I am a hangry person. And I was just like, well, if I didn't get it for you, then you would be mad at me. And she's like, And I was like, yeah, because like if I don't do this for you, you'll hate me. Or not hate me, I didn't say that, but it was just like you just wouldn't be I think that you wouldn't be pleased with me. And she was just like, what? And it was just, it didn't make sense to her. Because at the, and now looking back on it, no, it didn't make sense for me to do that. But that's what I did for people. Like, it's just like I just pushed myself into the fire and saved other people. That's just what I did. And that's when I realized something is just terribly wrong. Something is not right. And I just started thinking, just like, why am I not saying no to things? Like, why do I keep, you know, allowing people to guide me through life? And sometimes, most of the time, I realize they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what's going on. And those are just questions I kept asking myself. So like, the breakup was not on good terms. It ended up being a big mess, and I won't get into that right now. That's another day, another video. But I was also just like realizing that I was not my best self. Like, once I was starting to reflect after enough time after the breakup, I was reflecting on myself and reflecting on things that I've done in life and things that I've done in the relationship that, like, when I really sat down and thought about it, when I sat down with myself, it was like, I am not happy with myself. And I felt really, really guilty about that, about like the things that I've done and the things that like I allowed to happen. And because not only was like the breakup hard because it was a hard ending, it was like all that guilt was piling on top of me, and it was so painful. It was so heavy. Like, I stopped eating, like I didn't want to go outside, like I just felt paranoid, so much anxiety. And like I ended up, and I was in the middle of like a semester, and so because I did that, because I just kind of like shut down because like I was in so much like emotional pain, I ended up failing like a few of my classes. And like I tried to save myself, but like I just didn't make it. And like, it was also like the beginning of COVID season, and I just ended up, just failing out of college. I mean, I didn't technically like fail out. I can still go back, but I'm on like a 5 year suspension now, 4, but like last year, 5 year suspension. And so I can't really go back until another 4 years unless like I appeal it, but that's also, we'll see about that. And I was just sitting on my porch at my other house at the time, and I was just like, I cannot continue to go on like this. I have to, like, because I was thinking about all the things that I wanted in my life, and I realized that I will not get any of these things. I will not get any of these things that I want until I do better for myself. Like, I cannot possibly have this, that, like the relationship that I want, the life that I want, the apartment, my living space that I want, my dreams and aspirations. Like, I can't really do anything until I get myself together. And so after I, like, ended up getting suspended from school, my parents were just like, hey, come on home. And I thought I didn't want to do that because this is also the place that like really like made me who I was. And so I was nervous to come back into environment because I just didn't know how I was going to go. But I also knew that like I needed a break from everything. I needed a break from working for other people. I was doing DoorDash, like Uber Eats, Instacart, what have you, just because like, I didn't have to work for anybody else. I could choose for myself. I wanted to have full control of my life, except for my living space, obviously. But it was very helpful. I came home to heal. And my parents, I guess, just being an adult, they're just like, work on yourself, do whatever you need to do. And I'm grateful for that because I was not expecting that. But like, do whatever you need to do, get yourself together. And when you're ready, you can head back on out there. And so like for all of summer was just really grieving that relationship, because even though like I'm not sure anymore whether it was just like I was really in it in my heart, but I definitely did care about that person because I took care of them. So I feel like I have a nurturing like soft spot for them in my heart, but it's just like in terms of like how I feel about that person. I don't know if it was what I thought it was at the time. But anyway, so in this period of the summer, last year, summer 2020, COVID season, all of that is going on. And I'm just trying to figure myself out. And the first thing I did was kind of just like start playing around with the way that I dress, the way that I present myself to the world. And that made all the difference. I started buying things for myself. And before that, I didn't do stuff like that. Like, I didn't like wear cute things. I didn't do wigs. I didn't make my face pretty. Like, I mean, I kind of did that. That was kind of like the only thing that I did. But I really started to play around with things that I liked, and I started dressing the way that I always dreamed of dressing, kind of like how I would imagine I would dress when I was like a kid, like as an adult and stuff like that. And it was really nice. And it was very interesting to see how people around me looked at me once I started really presenting myself authentically, and how I felt like that's how I wanted to present myself. And it went like a long way. Another thing is I tried a whole bunch of different tactics to healing, like in shadow work and all of that stuff. But it was it was very, very overwhelming. So I decided like I'm just gonna take my time. Whatever feels good, I'm gonna do that, and whatever doesn't, I'm just not until I feel like that's something that I want to do. So really, it was just about being me, like presenting myself as I feel that I am authentically, and then I don't know, learning how to say no to people. That was another thing. Learning how to say no to people. And that was a lot, and it took me a long time. Like, I've dated other people since that relationship, and those were also lessons. And it didn't end as badly as the first person I dated after that, I could see a lot of like they were also a younger person, and it was just like I could also see a lot of myself and who like I had been and no longer like recognized. You know, what's the word? I just no longer aligned with that type of lifestyle, and I could see that they were still there, and so, and they wanted more than I was ready for, and I could tell that like they were giving a lot more than I was, and so I just decided to excuse myself from that situation because I thought that like, okay, sorry about that. My camera actually like ran out of, I guess, storage, and so I had to clear some stuff out and come back to you. But it has been a couple days since that happened, so that's why I'm wearing different clothes. So where like I cut off, I was talking about when I ended up starting date when I ended up when I started dating again. And the first person that I dated, it wasn't like really anything wrong with them. I could just see that they were younger and they just weren't in the same mindset and same place as I was. And that's totally fine. Like, everyone does their process the way that they do their process. So after that, I ended up dating someone else, and that was like a really big challenge. They were like around my age, which was better for me, but they were still my camera just cut off. I swear, this Mercury retrograde has not been great. It's been some dookie. Like, with the whole Instagram, Facebook thing, and then it's just like me, like, trying to get a job and stuff. It is just, I am displeased. I'm very displeased. It's just a lot going on. My camera keeps cutting off. I'm running out of storage all the time. It is just, I thought the last Mercury retrograde was bad. This is bad. Anyway, but I was proud of myself at the end of that little thing, even though like I was sad to walk away because like, you know, like you hurt people in that process, and I did not want to do that, and it made me sad to have to do that. Like, I could see that where my growth has gone, because like basically it was kind of like a repeat of my previous relationship, where it's just like I didn't want to hurt their feelings, or I just didn't really know what to do, so I kind of just like went into a relationship, and I could just see all that happening all over again with this person. So like I cannot get stuck in something that I just don't want. It's not fair to me, it's not fair to the other person. So I left and I just moved on. I ended up dating someone else, but I don't know if I could get too into that because that's like my most recent type of thing. But it was a situationship, and I went into it knowing that it was a situationship, but well, I guess I will talk about it because it brings me to where I am right now. Like, I really like that person. I think they, I hesitate to say that they really liked me because it's just like, I don't know, you tell me, but it's just like, and it seemed like they really, really liked me, and like, we had this thing going, and like, neither of us really wanted a relationship, but like, as time went on, I really started to like her, and I was like, I think I could be in a relationship with you. And she was, you know, a little bit younger than me, and she was kind of like figuring herself out, but she didn't really know how to do, I guess, like, execute what she was trying to execute. So she was like, you know, on her own personal journey, and she wanted to be, I'm getting a phone call. That was a good interruption. That was a really good interruption. That made me feel a little bit better. I was having a great day, but I feel a little bit better now. So shoot, where was I? I started to really like her, but she said that she liked me, that she wanted to be with me, but she just thought that it was best that she stayed single, which is fine. Sad for me, but it was fine. And it was just at some point, like, there's other stuff that was like going on. It's like neither here nor there, but it was just like where I was and how I felt about her. It was just like, well, this is what I would like, and it's actually becoming torture for me to sit here in this gray area of it being kind of real but not real, but leaning toward not real. So I was like, oh well, let's just
Not.
and I tried to be friends with her, and I should make a video on just like why sometimes or most of the time you just really cannot be friends with people, because I really, really liked her, and so just being like around her was just very, very difficult on me, and so I walked away. um like, it was kind of just like a kind of ghosted. I was gone. It's out of there, and I just stopped talking to her, and that was really sad for me. But this is something I'm still wrapping my head around. It's just like, I think about like where I was like a year ago, and how like I would have never thought that like I could walk away from somebody in the middle of something when like no type of tomfoolery like had happened to make me want to like walk away, like no like major like intentional or like negligent like disrespect had happened to me. So like, I'm proud of myself for valuing myself and being like, I cannot continue. And so, and that's where I am now. And so now, it's been a couple months since that, and so I've been kind of like healing from the situation, and I feel like I'm, for the most part, over that situation. I'd rather like move on. I think I would be stupid to say like there's like it's a small bit of hope, but I'm just like, no, let me move on, let me be free. I just feel like I'm in a new wave. Like, I think I went through I think there can be multiple dark nights of the soul, but I feel like in the beginning I went through the whole dark night of the soul, and just that euphoric feeling and figuring things out. Recently I've been like watching a lot of like black female content creators, and there's this one, her name is Trinity, and I really like her content. She's actually younger than me, but she seems so much older. Like, she's very, very well, I mean, like, everyone's at their own place, but I mean, like, it's just like, I just really like her content in terms of like spirituality and like talking about her life in terms of shadow work and manifestation practices. Like, it's very inspiring. And so, I mean, lately I have been trying to do more affirmations. I'm thinking about starting to do like scripting and stuff, talking about my life and like in the future, but like in the present tense, like I already have it, so I can make videos on those and stuff and see how that goes for me. But so far, I can't speak about the affirmations. Doing affirmations like every single morning, like before I get on like any like social media app or whatever, has been fantastic for me. I don't know why, but it just seems like I'm a lot quicker to not go down the spiral, like dark hole that I really, really want to go down when I'm like sad or upset. Anyway, I really like doing the affirmations, and so like it really helps me want to do like other things, like journaling, like my feelings and stuff. Like, will I get a journal? Who knows? We will find out. So if you like the video, you know, like, comment, share. If you like what I had to talk about, please, please, please feel free to subscribe. I will be posting more content. And the fact that I have made a second video, girl, it means that I'm on something, because it's been really hard for me to keep up. So yeah, thanks for watching. Ta.